Hello, this is SABA Satellite Channel live from Marib. Coming up on the program. President Al-Alimi orders sweeping measures to combat smuggling and protect Yemen's sovereign crossings. In an interview with the Sharq al-Awsat Prime Minister Shaya Zindani says Houthi escalation targets Yemen's economy and national infrastructure. Also, Yemeni forces strike Houthi positions across multiple fronts. Welcome back. A presidential decree number 65 of 2026 has been issued appointing Mohammed Abdullah Al-Fagmi as Minister of Planning and International Cooperation. The decree was issued following a nomination by Prime Minister Shaya Zindani and approval by the Presidential Leadership Council. The decree stipulates that the appointment takes effect from the date of its issuance and is to be published in the official gazette. Al-Fagmi's appointment comes as the government continues efforts to strengthen planning and international cooperation, coordinate development priorities with international partners, and support Yemen's economic recovery and development programs. President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi has launched comprehensive measures to combat smuggling as part of broader reforms aimed at securing Yemen's ports and border crossings, protecting the national economy and disrupting sources of financing and arms supplies to the Iran-backed Houthi militia. Speaking during a meeting of the Supreme Committee for Combating Smuggling, Al-Alimi said the government would take firm action against smuggling networks and protect legitimate trade and the national private sector. He ordered a review of all ports and entry points where violations have been recorded, including the performance of their directors and government and security agencies, with officials found responsible for negligence or involvement in smuggling subject to legal action. Al-Alimi also ordered the closure of any port or entry point operating outside the legal framework and called for an end to unauthorized exemptions, special discounts, and privileges for individuals or companies. The President instructed the committee to accelerate the implementation of a unified list of prohibited materials, equipment, and vehicle entering Houthi-controlled areas, particularly military and dual-use items. He also called for stronger measures to protect Yemen's currency, gold, and mineral resources from illicit activities that undermine the national currency and banking sector. Member of the Presidential Leadership Council, Lieutenant General Tariq Saleh, received Coast Guard Authority Chief Major General Khalid Al-Gamli in Mocha, where the official is visiting Coast Guard forces operating in the Red Sea sector. During the meeting, Tariq Saleh received a briefing on the Coast Guard Authority's current situation and stressed the need to bring the authority to full operational readiness. He praised the efforts and achievements of the Coast Guard forces in securing Yemen's territorial waters and protecting maritime navigation. Tariq Saleh emphasized the Coast Guard's key role in protecting Yemen's coastline and combating maritime smuggling networks along the country's extensive shores. He said strengthening the authority's capabilities would enhance maritime security and help disrupt organized criminal networks operating through Yemen's coastal areas. Member of the Presidential Leadership Council and Hadramaut Governor Salim Al-Khambashi has reaffirmed the local authority's support for teachers and educators, stressing the importance of maintaining stability in the education sector. During a meeting with the Teachers and Educators Union in Hadramaut's coastal region, Al-Khambashi said the government is preparing to dispute a 20% cost of living allowance to state employees, including teachers and contracted staff, as part of measures aimed at easing economic pressures. The governor called for resolving outstanding issues through dialogue and coordination, stressing that the interest of students must remain the priority and that disputes could not disrupt education or affect the future of students. In a separate development, Al-Khambashi ordered follow-up on the release of the operating budget for Sayoun General Hospital and called for accelerating the payment of outstanding staff entitlements. He reviewed the hospital's medical services and the challenges affecting its operations, stressing the need to address financial and administrative problems. support medical and administrative staff, and ensure the continued delivery of healthcare services to residents. Prime Minister Dr. Shai al-Zindani has warned that the latest Houthi escalation represents a direct threat to Yemen's national security, economy, and vital infrastructure, particularly following the attack on the port of Mocha. In an interview with the Sharq al-Awsat, al-Zindani said targeting Mocha port was particularly dangerous because it struck a civilian and economic facility and threatened commercial shipping through one of the world's most important maritime routes. The Prime Minister said the government is moving from containment toward deterrence, stressing that strengthening the readiness of the armed forces and security agencies is essential to protect citizens, ports, infrastructure, and national interests. He said deterrence is not limited to military action, but includes securing ports and border crossings, combating smuggling and illicit finance and networks, protecting vital infrastructure, and mobilizing international diplomatic support. Al-Zindani said the government has raised readiness levels of ports, transportation facilities, energy, telecommunications, and other essential services, while preparing emergency plans to ensure the continuity of economic activity and basic supplies in the event of further attacks. The Prime Minister also praised Saudi Arabia's strategic partnership with Yemen, highlighting political, economic, humanitarian security, and development support, including projects implemented through the Saudi Program for the Development and Reconstruction of Yemen. Al-Zindani called for stronger international action against Houthi financing and arms networks, saying sustainable peace can only be achieved through the restoration of state authority and sovereignty. And Minister of Environment and Water, Tawfiq al-Sharjabi, has held talks with German Ambassador to Yemen, Thomas Schneider, on strengthening bilateral cooperation in the water and environmental sectors and addressing the impacts of climate change. The virtual meeting also covered preparations for Yemen Days and the 25th Annual Friends of Socotra Conference, scheduled to take place from September 23rd to 25th, jointly organized with the Yemeni Embassy in Berlin. Al-Sharjabi said the conference will highlight the environmental and climate challenges facing the Socotra archipelago and showcase its unique biodiversity and ecological importance. The minister praised Germany's support for Yemen's water sector and its role in supporting the country's national water strategy, calling for expanded cooperation to improve water services. For his part, Ambassador Schneider praised the ministry's efforts and stressed the importance of continued cooperation. He said the upcoming conference will provide an opportunity to strengthen Yemen-Germany ties, including through a dedicated water sector project aimed at exchanging expertise, mobilizing support, and implementing priority projects. Yemen Ambassador to the United States, Jamila Ali Raja, says a stronger and more stable Yemen can become a key partner for Washington in protecting Red Sea security and countering Iranian influence. In an opinion article published by the Wall Street Journal under the headline, "A Strong Yemen Can Defeat the Houthis," Raja warned that the Houthi threat is no longer an internal Yemeni issue, as attacks on shipping have turned the Bab el-Mandeb Strait into a major international security and economic concern. She said Houthi attacks are forcing shipping companies to reroute vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, increasing transportation and insurance costs, and ultimately affecting American consumers and the global economy. Raja also highlighted the group's record of child recruitment, landmine use, attacks on commercial vessels, and detention of UN and humanitarian workers. She argued that Yemen should no longer be viewed simply as a failed state, pointing to government measures to stabilize the financial system, move banking operations to Aden, strengthen financial oversight, and improve counterterrorism capabilities. Raja said Yemen has joined 13 other countries in establishing a multinational maritime defense coalition, stressing that Yemen is not asking others to defend it, but to partner in protecting Yemen, the region, and the international waterways. She called for stronger U.S. support for Yemeni state institutions and Coast Guard capabilities, saying a stable Yemen free from the Houthi threat could become a reliable strategic partner for the United States. Yemeni armed forces have carried out a series of artillery and drone strikes targeting Houthi militia positions and gatherings across several fronts as part of ongoing operations to monitor and disrupt the militia's movements and offensive plans. Artillery units from the 141st Infantry Brigade targeted Houthi fighters after the movements were dedicated, while the brigade's drones conducted additional strikes against militia gatherings and personnel, scoring direct hits on identified targets. A drone from the 3rd Military Region also tracked and targeted Houthi fighters as forces continued monitoring militia movements and neutralizing threats before they could launch attacks. In the 6th Military Region, a drone strike targeted Houthi artillery positioned in the Nadir Mountains following the detection of the hostile position. The operations are described as demonstrating the Yemeni armed forces' readiness and ability to monitor Houthi activity, identify hostile positions, and strike sources of fire across multiple operational fronts. The Houthi militia has turned Yemen's telecommunications sector into more than a source of revenue. The group has exploited telecom networks and infrastructure to monitor and track legitimate government officials and military commanders, while using the sector to generate substantial financial gains through control, surveillance, and manipulation of telecommunication services. The Houthis have built a system that serves both their intelligence operations and their efforts to strengthen their financial resources. That's all for tonight's bulletin. Follow us for more updates.